Welcome to Words Worth Saying. This is where people come to talk about their two most important life lessons, two things that they would like to pass on to younger people perhaps in their lives, their wisdom from their experiences in their life. And I have with me today Paul Marchant. Thank you for joining us, Paul. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I've lived in and around Chesham for all my working life. I've been involved in education for 47 years. I was a head teacher for 16 years of those, and for the last 11 years I've worked for the University of Hertfordshire looking after trainee teachers, which means I go into schools, observe teachers teaching, working with young people, which is, for me, is a real pleasure and a joy. It's been my whole life.
Working with young people.
Working with young people.
Well, that must be amazing, because you must have had built up incredible relationships with young people and been influencing, I suppose, young people.
I hope so. I still see many of my ex-pupils in Chesham, most of whom will be well into their 20s by now, even the ones I last saw at school. And it's good to see that they've made a lot of their lives and are working hard to do that. So my first life skill, if you like, is to develop a strong work ethic. I think it's absolutely crucial through example to ensure that young people, and indeed adults, believe in what they're doing, regardless of what it is, and work hard so that they have a feeling of self-worth and fulfill their working day.
Makes such a difference, doesn't it? That there is that thing about, if you're going to do a job, do it well.
Do it well, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I have an example of actually one fellow when I was at junior school myself. The chap who sat at the back, who, bless him, wasn't very good at maths or English or anything else, but probably in those days was neglected, and as long as he didn't misbehave, it was fine. He left school, I imagine, at 15, but I know he went on to work for Scammell Lorries in Watford, and his job was to make sure that the red tail light covers were fixed on properly. For him, that was such an important job, because every time he saw a Scammell lorry disappearing, he knew that he'd fitted on the red light covers and they were in the right place and they were screwed on properly and sealed. And that's all he did, but that for him was such an important thing to do. It was perfect.
Yeah, so having a strong work ethic is not about going out and becoming a lawyer or a doctor.
Absolutely not. It's about whatever you do, whatever job you're doing, being a lawyer, being a doctor, but equally doing manual work, stacking shelves, whatever it is, being a teacher, being a sports person, doing it to the best of your ability, and trying to enjoy it as well, getting something out of it rather than just the monotony of, oh, I've got to go to work.
Yeah. So I know that you work with student teachers, as you said, so how do you manage to impart that to your students? I suppose my words of wisdom will be, I want them to show passion and enthusiasm, whatever lesson they're doing, and inspire those children, wherever they're learning, whatever they're learning, into wanting to improve, wanting to learn more. And I think out of that comes the notion that part of that work ethic is actually always wanting to learn something new. I go into schools and I will always find out something new, whether it's a fact I didn't know, whether it's a technique, all sorts of things that just make the job so worthwhile. Yeah, okay.
That's good.
Thank you. So what is your second life lesson?
My second life lesson is about the importance of having a social conscience. I think it's absolutely crucial that we don't be cowed into not feeling we can speak up about things, that we are able to express our views sensibly and politely. I don't mean, sort of draconian ranting sort of way that we sometimes see politicians resorting to, but believing that we are all important. It's absolutely crucial that we look after each other, we care about things, and we're not afraid to speak up. I'm sure that my ex-employers used to get rather tired of me at certain head teachers meetings when I would say, excuse me, we are here to talk about children, aren't we?
Uh-huh.
Because they sometimes got a bit lost in the mix of the conversations going on. But equally, seeing people across the road, giving up. I still will stand up on a train if a woman needs a seat. All those things that I suppose my mother particularly instilled in me as a child, I still try and walk on the outside of the pavement to stop, as she used to say, carriages splashing.
Yes, yes.
But it's crucial.
Yeah.
But it's all part of that. It's respect for everybody.
So there is an element of old-fashioned chivalry in that.
Yeah, there is.
But I also hearing an element of community involvement.
Totally. And I think particularly in the world we exist in now, it's absolutely vital that we are all aware of what we should be doing. Living in Chesham, the sort of multicultural Chesham is wonderful. It's a joy to hear a multitude of languages, but it's also part of being aware and respecting the different cultures, the different beliefs of people as well, which to me is all part of that social awareness and social conscience.
So if you were teaching, advising, recommending to anybody about how to have a social conscience, what would their first step be?
I think part of it is you need to treat people in the way that you wish to be treated yourself. Is that behaviour, is that comment, would you like somebody to say that to you?
Okay.
And if the answer is no, then you haven't developed that notion of what it's really like to have a social conscience. It's not about politics particularly.
Yeah.
It's about believing in what's right.
And I suppose that's about seeing what life is like for others. So rather than, I'm on this trajectory, I've got to get to this place and I've got to get there in time, but it's also being more observant about what's going on around you.
We could do far worse than look at other people and watch them.
Yeah.
Because that notion of people watching, if you like, is crucial. And that's what teachers do.
Yeah.
They watch their pupils. They learn as much from their marking their books as they do from watching children learn, listening to them, talking to them and so forth.
Yeah. Well, it is a huge responsibility, isn't it, being a teacher, because it's not just about getting them to get to the end of the textbook or finish their exams. There's also a responsibility in terms of what's going on in that child's life.
Exactly. And that's why the current regime of over-testing is just not good for many, many children.
Yeah.
We need to develop their social side, their social conscience far more.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you,
Pleasure.
Paul. Thank you very much for sharing
Pleasure.
those. So that's Paul's 2 lessons are have a social conscience and have a good work ethic. 2 very important lessons from Paul Marchant, ex-head teacher in Chesham in Buckinghamshire. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll look out for the next Words Worth Saying. There'll be another one coming soon.